Hello everyone, for those of you who have watched all of my 9 previous videos, this is a special milestone for myself because this will actually be my 10th video on YouTube, which is pretty amazing. And when I first posted my very first video just as a fun experiment, I didn't think that it was even going to get 20 views by the end of this year. And it's got 127 views and counting. And with that, I mean the fact that I've now reached almost 400 views for all of my videos put together. I mean, it means a lot to me, and I just want to say thank you very much. And with that, as you can see, I have a Nordique logo and a Vegas t-shirt. Plus, if you read the title, that means that I'll be talking about NHL Expansion. So, for the last time in 2015, well, most likely, I hope you guys enjoy the video. And now to the main presentation.
For this video, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different that I have not touched base on since I've been making videos. This is a topic that has been gaining a hell of a lot of steam in the past few months, and you know what, I figured I'll talk about it, touch base on it, throw my own 2 cents in there. And that topic for this video is NHL Expansion. So the NHL right now has 30 teams, and now there's talk about possibly expanding it to 32 teams. And so far, the only 2 cities that have filed successful expansion bids are Quebec City, obviously, and Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because one, Las Vegas has never had an NHL team before, and number 2, if they expand to Quebec and Las Vegas, there will still be way too many Eastern teams, and the conferences won't be a perfect balanced 16 teams per conference. So I'm not entirely sure what the NHL plans to do if they do decide to expand with the divisions, but that'll be interesting to watch. Now, there's a couple things that I notice here that are interesting. Number 1, Las Vegas is a mega tourist hub where tourists from every nook and cranny of the earth practically go to Las Vegas every single year, right? And, you know, since you got folks from back east coming to Las Vegas, and people even from California and Western Canada and all over the world, you know, I can't see why an NHL team wouldn't work in Las Vegas. I mean, for a desert area, Las Vegas is right in the heart of a desert. You know, it's very possible that it could work out much better than even anyone could ever think of. But the thing is, what if they're not going to the games? You gotta have people in the actual market that like and support your hockey team. You can't just have all tourists. I mean, the thing with Las Vegas is, yeah, you can afford the hotels. You can actually go there on pretty decent priced flights, especially if you're living in the United States. But the thing is every single tourist that comes to Las Vegas that is into hockey, are they going to be willing to spend extra money to go see a game? That's going to be a big question they're going to have to figure out if this does happen. And you know what? From what I've seen, the ownership group trying to bring a team to Vegas has done a really good job. So, I think it's worth a shot. But at the same time, here's my beef with it. See, I try to be a glass half full kind of guy on this topic. But my concern with Las Vegas is the fact that it's another desert market, another Sunbelt market, and if you look just a little bit down south in Arizona, the Coyotes have had problems since they've moved from Winnipeg back in 1996. I don't even think correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think they've actually had a successful season where they've actually been in the black and actually made money. So that's not very good. And I think it could work in Las Vegas, but the thing is, you gotta be able to fill your building. And the problem with a lot of the Southern Belt teams in the National Hockey League is that they're not hockey climates, and a lot of the people don't seem to really be too big on hockey in a lot of cases, which is unfortunate, especially for the fans down south that are huge hockey fans, right? Now I'm going to talk about Quebec. As for Las Vegas, I do believe that it could probably do not too bad, especially since it's such an incredible tourist hub. Plus, they got a new building that's just about done, so I think they're worth giving it a shot. I definitely think they should bring a team to Vegas. I really think that there's a chance it could really take off. Now, as for Quebec City, well, you know what? I'm going to be right up front. I think that they would do really well. I almost know for a fact that they would be sold out every single game, just like the Winnipeg Jets. However, there's a few problems. Number one, the National Hockey League already has too many Eastern teams. Number two, there's only about 800,000 people living in the Quebec City area, which makes it a small market just like Winnipeg. And number three, one thing that I kind of believe gets overlooked a lot is that the owner who's trying to bring an NHL team to Quebec happens to be one of the head people trying to separate Quebec from Canada. Pierre-Carl Palladot is a separatist. So I don't know how the political part of it would affect, but if I was the NHL, I don't necessarily think I'd necessarily want a political person who's trying to separate an entire piece of Canada into its own country. I could definitely see that being a bit of an issue with the NHL. And you know what? If I was in the NHL, I wouldn't blame them. A separatist owning a hockey team, that could cause some problems. Next thing you know, something could happen, and then the NHL has let this guy own a franchise in Quebec City. I think there's definitely a little bit of a question mark there. Pardon my sarcasm, but I could definitely see that being an easy hurdle for Quebec getting a team. And I think it's a bit of a shame because I know for a fact that Quebec would do absolutely awesome. And hey, now with a brand spanking new arena, I can't see why a team in Quebec City wouldn't work. You have teams like Florida that are constantly having an empty building every home game almost, while those guys don't have a team. So that's something about Quebec that kind of, would definitely raise some concerns, I'm sure. Now, see, I understand the idea for expansion. It would balance the NHL to 16 teams per conference in a perfect scenario. However, there is a point that I'm going to throw out here. And I think that when I say it, I think a lot of people are going to agree with me. But, the NHL, so there's all this talk about expanding to 32 teams, right? Well, here's the thing. They're talking about expansion, yet there's cities like Florida and even Arizona, and even in the past couple of seasons, Carolina, that have had rock bottom attendance, have been actually losing money, yet you want to add 2 more teams. That kind of makes me scratch my head a little tiny bit. And for all you fans out there that are Coyote, Panther, and Hurricane fans, I feel bad for you. I mean, I think a loyal hockey fan is a loyal hockey fan. I think a loyal Panthers fan is just as good as a loyal Montreal Canadiens fan. And it sucks for the loyal fans that actually care about these teams and are willing to go to the games. Yet, there's lots of instances, especially in Florida, where the arena is mostly empty. It almost looks, a lot of times, as of the 2015-16 season, there have been a lot of instances so far that have looked like where the Panthers arena has reminded me a hell of a lot of the Atlanta Thrashers Phillips Arena. Like where all the seats, you can see all these seats, but no people. Yet, Quebec City doesn't have a team. Does that make any sense? I mean, even Tampa Bay gets decent attendance. I mean, I'm sure their tickets are a hell of a lot cheaper than Canadian or older American cities, but Tampa still has really good turnout. But Florida, their building a lot of times is half empty. I'd even go as far as saying 3/4 to 100% empty. I mean, it's a sad situation, especially for those who are true Panther fans. But I mean, the NHL, if there's talk about expansion, yet there's teams like Florida that are just downright struggling, and I would even question if they should even have a franchise at all. I feel bad saying that. I'm being dead honest here, but you know, if your team can only draw 3,000 to 10,000 a night, where a city like Quebec that would be sold out every night doesn't have a team, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I understand the NHL is trying to appease everybody, and there's a lot of politics behind the scenes, but Florida is becoming more and more like another Atlanta Thrashers. And I don't see why the NHL should keep a team like that when a city like Quebec wants a team so bad. I mean, a few years ago, 60,000 fans showed up at the Plains of Abraham in Quebec, all in a huge march to bring back the Nordique. How many people showed up for a Save the Franchise for the Arizona Coyotes a few years ago? I don't know, 300? Really? And Quebec doesn't have a hockey team. Okay, there. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Now, as for Arizona, the good news is that it sounds like they've been starting to turn things around, and I'm happy to hear about that, because you know what? There are lots of good fans in all these cities, and it's nice to hear about at least one city starting to turn things around, even if only not by a whole lot. But I mean, I hope for you Arizona Coyote fans out there that you guys can turn it around. I really do. But even Arizona, I mean, they've almost lost their team like what, 3 to 5 times now in the past 5 years. I mean, it's almost like every single year there's talk about the team leaving or being contracted or relocated. I mean, that's kind of scary. And I don't necessarily think they should have a team if that type of thing's going to continue to happen where there isn't enough support to keep the team there. I mean, let me just summarize it like this. I think the NHL has a lot of troubled teams already, and I don't necessarily think that adding 2 more right now is a good idea. Unless both teams are West Coast teams, then okay. Because that would finally balance out the divisions. I mean, the conferences, sorry. And in my opinion, that would be the way to go. So, on a final note, would I like to see expansion? If both cities, in this case, Las Vegas and Quebec, are going to be good hockey markets for the NHL, then okay. But if we're going to have 2 new Floridas, or even 1, sorry, but I don't think that's very good. And you know what? There's also been talk that expansion would kind of dilute the quality of teams. I don't think it would as much as some people say it would be. But in my honest opinion, I think of it this way. I'd like to see 32 teams in the NHL. But what I would like to see before that is the NHL fix the teams right now that are struggling and deal with them first. Then, once every team in the NHL is doing 90% to awesome, 100% perfect, then okay. Expand. You deserve it. Plus, that's an extra $1 billion in the NHL's pocket if they do anyway. So I get it. They want the money. Remember, folks, as the old saying goes, or I should say the old AC/DC song goes, money talks. And in this case, $1 billion, that's a hell of a lot of money. And I guarantee the NHL is just drooling over the thought. So I could definitely see that really helping expansion go through. And, oh yeah, there's one more thing. There's some other cities lately that haven't been doing very well either. Ever since the Islanders have moved to Brooklyn, they're averaging about 12 to 13,000 a game. That's even worse than what they were doing last year in Uniondale at Nassau Coliseum. Yeah. So I don't know. As I say, I think the NHL has a lot of problems right now with some teams, and I think they should fix them first. Now, on a final note, what do you think? If you have any comments, feel free to comment away. And as I always say, until my next video, which will most likely be another video about the NFL, because they had some special Thursday night football jerseys unveiled. So I think I'm going to probably do my next video on that. So if you like the NFL, there's something to that you'll hopefully look forward to. And until my next video, as always, take care. And once again, as always, bye for now.